Hey guys, it's Lukian, and today I am going to be starting a 24-hour holiday-themed readathon. So I haven't done a reading vlog in many months, and I also haven't done a 24-hour readathon in, I think, at least 2 years or so. So I'm excited to do one. It is not even close to midnight right now. It is 7:41. But I just thought I would introduce this vlog a little bit and talk about what I will be reading for the next 24 hours. So I do actually have a bunch of books that I have curated that are holiday themed. So these are a lot of the books. Obviously I'm not reading all these today, and I already read Whiteout, which is the 4th book over there. But these are just some like wintry holiday books that I compiled for, you know, the next couple of days and weeks. So it's currently December 22nd, so I'm going to be reading the entire day tomorrow. I'm not staying up for 24 hours because I don't want to do that to myself. I've like never done that in any of the 24-hour readathons that I've done, so why start now? And I decided to, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay up until midnight. Obviously, I usually do that watching TV anyway, but at least I'm going to be doing something productive today. So I'm going to stay up until midnight, and I'm probably going to start one of the shorter books that I have over there. I haven't decided what I'm reading yet, but I'm going to probably try to stick to shorter books so that I can read, you know, more books in a 24-hour span. I already hit my Goodreads goal for the year, thankfully. There was a moment there in like September or October or both where I really didn't know if I was going to hit it, but I've officially read now 101 books. So, you know, maybe I can kick it up to 110, I don't know. But I do want to try to read as many books as possible in the next 24 hours. So I'm going to stay up until midnight, start a book, and probably go to bed after like 50 or 100 pages, and then read all day tomorrow when I wake up. So I just thought I would start off this vlog. I really hate filming when it's dark out and nighttime, but you gotta do what you gotta do. So I will be here for, I haven't even eaten dinner yet, so I'll probably do that, and then just wait around until midnight, and then the reading will commence. Okay, so I know I look interesting as of right now, but I thought I would check in because not only is it midnight, it is far past midnight. It is probably like 1:30 at the time that I'm filming this, and I decided to hang out with my friends to kind of stay up and keep my energy levels high, and then I got home at 12:45 and I just showered, which is why I look like this. So, I think I decided which book I'm going to read. I have decided to start the readathon out with Comfort and Joy by Kristin. This is a book that I've had for like a couple of years now, and it's one of the shortest books on my TBR for this, so I think I'm going to start with this. It's about 240 pages total, so I'm obviously not going to read this entire book right now because I do want to get to bed at somewhat of a reasonable time so that I can get up bright and early tomorrow and read all day. So I think I'm going to try to get about 50 pages into this book right now, and we will see how it goes and how I'm feeling about this book, and I'll probably update you all in the morning when I wake up and decide to kickstart the rest of the readathon. Good morning. It is currently 10:07 a.m. obviously, and I thought I would just update a little bit about Comfort and Joy because I read the first 4 chapters last night, and I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was just gonna be like a fun little, like, it literally says like a fable, like it's a fable, so I was like expecting like a cute little like quick simple romance book. The first 2 chapters were actually like a whirlwind, unexpectedly. There was literally like twists and turns within the first like 30 pages, and I was like not knowing what to, you know, do with all of the like crazy stuff that was happening. But I did actually get the audiobook for Comfort and Joy on Audible. It's just downloading right now, so I'm probably going to listen to that throughout the day, and I might start another book. I'm gonna see what from my TBR is on Scribd right now. Or, they, like, changed the name of Scribd, by the way, which I was like, what? But I'm gonna see if anything is on there. Definitely want to stick to some short books today. And I do also want to kind of switch between genres, so maybe I'll pick up like a mystery or a fantasy right now, to see, you know, how, or what else I can read today. I need some coffee because my brain is not entirely here right now. So I'm gonna go do that, and I'll probably decide on another physical book to read and maybe get a little bit further into Comfort and Joy through the audiobook. I feel like everyone else on planet Earth has like a really cool like morning coffee recipe or whatever. I don't. I literally just use, it's called like Genius Coffee, I think, in my Keurig. And then I just put almond milk and cinnamon in it. And I'm usually good to go, but I have actually missed this coffee so much being at school because at college, we have like, what I usually do for coffee in the morning is I'll go to, it's called Boatwright Cafe. It's like in our library because our library is called Boatwright. And I usually get coffee from there, but I like never realized how nice it is to just walk downstairs and like make myself coffee and not have to get dressed and walk like all the way to the library from my dorm. So I'm definitely going to cherish the moments that I get to have coffee in my house for sure. I don't know if I'm going to eat breakfast. I'm like a little bit hungry, so maybe I'll have something, or maybe I'll get some food with friends for like half an hour. I'm not sure, but I did want this reading vlog to be like, you know, reading, but also kind of like life as well. So yeah, I'll update you guys throughout the day. And while I drink my coffee, I think I'm gonna try to find a book on Scribd that's on my TBR and read a little bit. So I will check back in very soon. So it's been probably like 40 minutes and I drank my coffee and I read a little bit of Midwinter Murder by Agatha Christie. I read most of the first story. I left like the last like 20 ebook pages to read in a little bit because right now I am going to go get ready to get breakfast with my friend just like at the place like around the corner because I'm really hungry. So I'm gonna do that for probably like half an hour and then I am going to come back, finish the first story in Midwinter Murder, and probably listen to the audiobook of Comfort and Joy while I clean my room and unpack because I've been home for a week and I still have a bunch of stuff on the floor that I need to put away. So that's my plan for the next couple of hours and hopefully I can get a lot of reading done. Hello, so it's about 1:30 and I've read the first 4 stories in Midwinter Murder, so I'm about 140 pages in, and the book is 300 pages. I'm not sure how many stories are left, but I thought I would, you know, talk a little bit about the stories that I've read so far. So the first story I loved. It was like 90 pages, or it was like 80 pages long, and I was super into it the entire time, and I like honestly wanted it to be like a full book because I thought the characters were really interesting. I thought the setup was really cool. So I, you know, was engaged the entire time, and I would probably give that one like a 4.5, honestly. I just wish it had been like, you know, a full-length story as opposed to just a short story. And then the second and third stories I was kind of like meh about. Like the second story was told from Hastings' point of view and it was about Hercule Poirot. And I thought that was interesting, but I just didn't love the way it was formatted. It was pretty short and it was basically like all tell and not show because Poirot was telling Hastings about this case that he had like fumbled in the past. And then the next story was about Miss Marple, and I was just like, I found myself like my attention kind of going elsewhere, and so I didn't really care about the mystery. And then by the it was just like I found my attention, you know, lagging in that story because again it was like Miss Marple just telling a bunch of people about this murder and it wasn't really fully developed. So I had no reason to care or really stay engaged, so I'd probably give both of those like a 3 out of 5. And then the last story I just read was about Harley Quinn, which is one of Agatha Christie's recurring detectives, I think. I've never read one of those books from her, but this was like an interesting introduction to him, I guess. It was a fine story. Again, it was like him telling a lot, but there was like a cool twist at the end, and I was a little bit more engaged in that one. For some reason, the one with Miss Marple, I just like, my brain was going elsewhere. I don't know if it was like a me thing or if the story was just boring me and I stopped paying attention or what, but yeah, I'm trying to find like if there's a table of contents in here so I can see like how many oh yeah, there is. There's 8 stories left in this book, which I'm interested in reading. I'm like a little bit, I don't know, I think I might have expected to like finish a book by now, but I'm basically, with how far I am into Comfort and Joy and how far I'm into this, like that's basically a full book length, so I should probably be able to read like, or finish like 3 or 4 total books by midnight, I hope. But right now I'm gonna go wrap some stuff for Christmas, because Christmas is in like 2 days, so I'm gonna wrap some stuff and probably listen to the audiobook of Comfort and Joy while I do that. I'm like 6 chapters into that book as of right now, or 5 I'm on chapter 6. So I probably only have like, maybe 150 pages left in the book, so I'm going to try to finish that while I wrap. I only have like an hour and a half left in the audiobook, so I'm going to try my best to do that. Then I think I'm going to try to finish this next, and then we will pick another book to read. So it is probably like an hour or 2 later. I don't remember what time it was when I last updated, but it is currently at 2:54, and I just finished chapter 8 of Comfort and Joy. So I listened to about 3 chapters while I was wrapping gifts. So I only have, at the speed that I'm listening to the book, about 50 minutes left. So right now I have to take my sister to CVS quickly, so I'm gonna do that, and then probably come back and maybe listen, or I'll probably physically read the end of Comfort and Joy, just because I'll probably get through it a little bit faster, and then after that I'll probably try my best to finish Midwinter Murder, and then pick another book to read. I'm not sure what else, or like what I want to read after Midwinter Murder, but I thought I would update on my feelings on Comfort and Joy. I'm definitely enjoying it so far. Like it's a good book. It's very like, the first 2 chapters were really fast paced and like insane, as I was saying. Like there's a lot of like crazy stuff that's happening, and like, twists and turns. And it definitely slowed down a little bit. So basically it follows this woman named Joy who is kind of reeling in the event, or after her divorce. And so there's this crazy thing that she finds out, and she basically just decides to leave this suburb that she lives in California, and she gets on a random plane, and she somehow, I'm not going to say how, ends up at this inn, and she meets this guy and his son, and the rest of the book, or at least where I am, I have 1 more chapter until I reach part 2. She's kind of just like integrating into their family a little bit, kind of maybe finding romance, dealing with grief and like the end of her marriage and stuff like that. So, of course, with Kristin Hannah, there's great like emotional undertones to the story. I've only ever read Kristin Hannah's like war type historical books, but this is definitely a contemporary romance, so it's a little bit lighter than the stuff I've read from her in the past, but it definitely has some more serious undertones to it, which I really enjoy, and I think it's really well written. I will say there are definitely some like phrases and stuff that I'm reading and I'm like, this is definitely of the time, because this book was originally published in like 2005, so it's over 18 years old. So, definitely some outdated like aspects of the book, but I mean, I guess it's kind of just like, art is like a stagnant thing, so can't really criticize it for that, I guess. But, yeah, so I think I'm going to take my sister to CVS. It's not even 3 o'clock yet, so I'll probably try to finish Comfort and Joy by, like, 4, and then try to finish Midwinter Murder by 5, and then try to just binge another short book, and then hopefully I can read, like, 4 by midnight. If I have to stay up past midnight, that's fine, since I really didn't start reading last night until, like, 1:15. So, yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. And I will check back in once I finish Comfort and Joy and tell you all my final thoughts. Okay, it is just before 4 o'clock, and I just finished Comfort and Joy by Kristin Hannah, my first book of the readathon. Definitely thought I would have had it completed. I would have completed, I don't know why I said that so weirdly. I definitely thought I would have completed more books by now, but it's fine. We've still got plenty of hours to go. So I think I'm gonna settle on like a 3.5 star rating for this book. This is genuinely one of the strangest books I've ever read. Like, I could not have predicted anything that happened. Like, I did not read the synopsis of this book going into it because I was like, it's just gonna be like a cute, short, fable type holiday story. And then all this crazy stuff started happening in the beginning, and then there was like, you know, a little bit of drag in the middle. But then there was like a huge twist in part 2, and then the huge twist came after I last updated, and then after that it was just like whirlwind after whirlwind, and twist after twist, and until the ending, which I thought was a really interesting way to like finish the story. But I just read like the synopsis before I started filming this clip, and like literally if you had paid me to try to guess what would happen in the book, I would never have predicted what actually happened. So, definitely an unexpected read. I really had no idea what to think, like, going into this book, and throughout the book, I really didn't know what would happen next, and I think that's what kept me reading, because I was like, I just have no idea how this is gonna resolve, and definitely the last, like, 4 chapters had me really engaged. The beginning was a little bit, like, muddling, but the beginning and end were great, so I'd probably give those like 4.5 out of 5 stars, but the middle really brought it down. So I think a 3.5 is a solid rating for this book, but man, it was really strange. But I still have to continue on with Midwinter Murder, but I did decide, I think, the next book that I want to pick up, which is Hiddensee by Gregory Maguire, A Tale of the Once and Future Nutcracker. This is by the author of Wicked, and it's obviously a retelling of the Nutcracker, which I'm familiar with. I read the story like a couple of years ago, but, you know, I'm not like super knowledgeable of the story. Like, I kind of just read it to read it, but I don't remember, like, it didn't stick with me very much. But I've had this book on my TBR for a while, and I've heard great things about it from Marissa Meyer. I remember mentioning it, who's one of my favorite authors of all time. And it's also very short. It's about 280 pages. So, definitely something that I think I could read today. Hopefully, we'll see, but I do definitely want to get through more of Midwinter Murder before I jump into this. So, yeah, I will read a couple more stories in that, and then update you and see how I feel. Whenever it gets dark outside, I just never know like what to do when I'm filming vlogs, because the lighting is just never gonna be how I want it to be. But regardless, it is about 6:30, and I read one more story of Midwinter Murder, I think, since the last time I updated you. I can't remember. Actually, I probably read a couple of stories. I read a story from Tommy and Tuppence, which is another one of Agatha Christie's detective characters. They're like a team together. There was one about Parker Prine or Pern, I forget how you pronounce it, which is another one of her recurring characters. And then the last one that I just read was another Miss Marple story. And I enjoyed all 3 of them, but none of them like were really that crazy. I liked the Parker one just because it was a little bit different. You know, it wasn't like necessarily about a murder. So I thought that was cool, and the Miss Marple one I definitely enjoyed more than the first one. I just think her Agatha Christie's like short stories, I feel like, are more easily enjoyed by people who have read like her entire catalog, whereas I've just read like, I mean, I've read a lot of her books, but not, you know, all of them, so I feel like I would enjoy these stories more if I was really, really familiar with all of the characters that she was bringing back from her full-length novels. But in addition to continuing with Midwinter Murder, I just reached part 2, so page 177, of Hiddensee by Gregory Maguire, which is, as I was talking about earlier, a retelling of the Nutcracker, which I have read in the past. I think I might have actually read it for a 24-hour readathon. I'm not 100% sure. Also, all of my 24-hour readathons will be in the description box below, so you can watch those if you want to. But I am familiar with the Nutcracker story, but not, you know, super well acquainted with it. Like, I know the bare bones of the story. And I would definitely say this is less of a retelling and more of, like, a backstory, kind of like a tale that's inspired by the Nutcracker. So this book is very strange and kind of difficult to describe. It's basically like, I mean, I don't know, I'm trying to think, because I just like read the synopsis because I had it before, and I don't know how to like summarize it, especially since I'm, you know, more than halfway into the book, so I feel like I know too much to really give like a full summary. I'm just gonna read like some of the back of the book. It says, Hiddensee imagines the backstory of the Nutcracker, revealing how this entrancing creature came to be carved and how he guided an ailing girl named Clara through a dreamy paradise on Christmas Eve. At the heart of Hoffman's mysterious tale hovers Godfather Drosselmeyer, the ominous, canny, one-eyed toy maker made immortal by Petipa and Tchaikovsky's fairy tale ballet, who presents the once-and-future Nutcracker to Clara, his goddaughter. It's kind of like a retelling, it's kind of inspired, kind of a prequel almost. Like, it's I've never read one of Gregory Maguire's books, but I know he does this where he kind of takes kernels of these stories that we know and love, like The Wizard of Oz or Alice in Wonderland, and then spins them on their head. And I will say I really love his writing style. It's very immersive and it flows very well. Like, this book is very compulsively readable, and I think his prose is just really smooth. I'm definitely intrigued in the story. Like, I think it's not all what I expected. It's very fairy tale-esque, like the way that he writes. You would probably understand it once you actually read it. It's a little bit difficult to articulate. I would say, like, the vibes and, like, the setting of the story remind me a lot of Gilded by Marissa Meyer, which is inspired by Rumpelstiltskin. So, like, the plots are not very similar, but, like, they both have kind of storytelling aspects, and they're both retellings, obviously, and they both are set in these kind of German landscapes, which is really interesting. And, yeah, this book is just, like, I don't really know what to expect, and there was definitely a big cliffhanger at the end of part 1, which intrigued me and is definitely propelling me forward. But yeah, it's really strange. And there are some like weird problematic things in this book that I've noticed, but I think it might just be like, I mean, I don't really know. There's like a lot of historical stuff too, which is really cool. Like, they mentions a lot of stuff about like ancient Greece and Persia and Rome, and it even talks a little bit about America, and there's obviously a lot of like German influence in this story that's interwoven throughout the narrative. But I will say, like, I feel like I'm reading the book very quickly, but I also feel like it's going by slowly, but then I also feel like it's super fast-paced, but then I think about it, and then really, like, not much has happened in the last couple of chapters, so it's weird. Like, the chapters are very short, so it's easy to read, and it feels very fast-paced, but, like, the overarching story is not super, like, there's not a ton of plot movement. Like, the beginning couple of sections were about, you know, him growing up with like this old woman and old man, then it's like goes into his young adulthood and all of that sort of stuff, and where I have gotten, he's kind of going on a quest, and we're seeing a little bit more about this Nutcracker, like the pieces of the Nutcracker story that we all know are starting to seep through. So I'm interested in continuing, and also this is really cool, so I'm excited to see how this progresses. I only have about 100 pages left in the book because it's not very long. It's only 283 pages, and part 2 starts on page 179. So really only about 100 pages left in this, and I'm currently on page 222 of Midwinter Murder, so I only have about like 80 pages left in this book. And I am confident that I will be able to finish both those two books. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to read a fourth book today, but that's totally fine, I think, because I am reading a lot today, and I did finish a book yesterday as well, so I've read a lot in the past couple of days, and I'm really excited about that, and I'm not too stressed out because I've already hit my Goodreads goal and everything. Maybe I'll read like a picture book at the end of the night or something. But yeah, I don't want to like rush through a book just to, you know, have another book read for this, because I still read a ton of pages, and I, you know, probably today, if it was a normal day, would have read maybe one book, if any at all. So I'm definitely proud of today. But I think I'm probably going to eat dinner somewhat soon and read a little bit. Maybe I'll read like another story or two from Midwinter Murder, and then hopefully I can finish it before I shower and then finish up Hiddensee. It is about 10:45 right now, and I ate dinner, I took a shower, and I watched 2 episodes of The Crown with my parents. And I also just now finished Midwinter Murder by Agatha Christie, and I think I'm going to settle on a 3.5 star rating for this book as well. And I think I'm actually going to raise my rating for Comfort and Joy up to a 4 stars, because I have not stopped thinking about that book, like, all day. So I think it deserves the 4-star rating, but this one definitely feels like a 3-star to me. The last couple of stories that I read were really interesting. I think that, you know, it was a little bit, like, uneven, the stories, but, I mean, I guess it's just, like, the way the cookie crumbles. I don't remember which story I had last read when I updated you, but there was one about like the Hunter's Lodge, which was cool. The World's End I wasn't like the biggest fan of, but I did really like The Manhunt of Edward Robinson was okay. And then the last story in here, Christmas Adventure, I'd actually already read before, but it was fun to read again, and that's one of my favorite Agatha Christie stories, actually. So, overall, I do think this was a solid collection, and I did enjoy it more than the other Agatha Christie collection I'd read, The Last Seance, which is, like, Halloween stories. So, definitely liked this one. There were some cool, like, Christmas wintry ones. My favorite story in this is still definitely the first one, Three Blind Mice. I honestly think that should have been a full-length novel. I thought it was so interesting. And, you know, there were some that I liked a lot more than others, so I think a 3.5 is a good rating for this. And right after I showered, I did read part 2 of Hiddensee, so I reached part 3. So I'm now on page 231, so I only have about 50 pages left, so I'm going to finish this right now. I don't think I'm going to pick up another book, even though I probably will have like half an hour after I finish Hiddensee, just because I don't really want to like start a book, because then I'm going to want to finish it, and I don't want to like stay up forever. So yeah, I'm going to finish Hiddensee. I liked part 2. I thought it was interesting. It was kind of like, I think it was literally like, the title was like intermezzo, so it was kind of just like middle section of the book. I don't know. I've read like some reviews of this book so far, and I kind of agree with some aspects. I kind of disagree with others. But this is just a very interesting book. It's not all what I had expected. Very gothic, not very like wintry or Christmassy at all for being a Nutcracker retelling, but it's interesting. I think it's a cool retelling. And I do want to read more from Gregory Maguire, but anyway, I'm going to read part 3 and update you in a little bit once I have completed this book. So it is about 11:30, and I just finished Hiddensee by Gregory Maguire, and I don't really know what my rating for this book is yet. I think I'm probably going to decide in the morning and tell you guys about it when I do my wrap-up for the readathon, but definitely somewhere in between a 3 and a 4 stars. I really loved the last section of this book, so part 3, which is actually like the story of the Nutcracker and the Mouse King, the story that we're all, you know, familiar with, and I really liked that section, and it kind of made the first 2 parts of this book make a lot more sense. Like, it brought everything together, and I liked how well-rounded it was. There was also a coda at the end, which was from a different perspective, which was really interesting, and I liked reading from the main character's perspective for the rest of the book, but it was nice at the end to kind of get that switch and to see things from a different point of view. But overall, I do think it was a really solid book, and I'm glad that I read it because it was interesting. And I don't know, like, the whole time while I was reading this book, I could not pinpoint what it was reminding me of, and I still can't. So if I miraculously think of it before I go to bed, or, you know, when I wake up in the morning, I don't know, maybe I'll update you, but the writing is just very reminiscent of another author to me, but I cannot remember who it was. Maybe it's Maggie Stiefvater. I feel like the writing is very similar because I just saw All the Crooked Saints on my TBR/recently read cart, and I'm thinking maybe it could have been reminding me of that because I read that book in October, so it could be, you know, that I'm thinking of. So that's a possibility. But overall, you know, a solid book. You know, it's not something that I'm gonna, like, recommend for years to come, but it is something that I think is a cool retelling. Definitely very unique. Like, if you asked me to write a Nutcracker retelling or think of, you know, Drosselmeyer's backstory, I never would have been able to come up with this. So it's very inventive, and you can tell that Gregory Maguire put a lot of time and thought into this story. But I also realized while I was reaching the end that it kind of felt like a long short story. Like, I feel like this book could have easily been shortened into like a 100-page novella or something, and it probably would have had the same effect just because there were a lot of sections in part 1 that just felt a little bit long, and the most of part 2 also felt a little bit like dragged out. So I think if those sections had been reduced a little bit to make part 3 shine a little bit more, that would have been really good, but maybe it was intentional to have part 3, like the piece of the story that we all actually know, be the shortest. I'm not really sure, but I did enjoy this book, and I probably, if it weren't for this readathon, wouldn't have gotten to it for a really long time, because it just never, like, has jumped out at me on my bookshelf. I remember asking for it for Christmas one year, but it just never, like, you know, I was never super drawn into picking it up off of my shelf, but I compiled it for this, like a bunch of wintry Christmas books that I have, and I just saw that it was pretty short, so I decided to pick it up for the readathon, and I'm glad I did, because I don't know when I would have gotten to it otherwise. So I do have, like, some more time before midnight. I could pick up something else, but I'm pretty tired, and I do feel very proud of what I was able to read today. So yeah, I will count up all the pages and everything tomorrow morning when I do my wrap-up, and I'm super happy with all of the books that I read, and this just put me in such a reading, you know, fervor. I think I'm definitely going to try to read a bunch tomorrow as well. There's just so many books that I'm seeing on my TBR cart that I compiled as, like, Christmassy winter type books that I really want to get to, so I'll definitely continue with this reading excitement, but I'm excited to also not have a day entirely dedicated to reading, because I definitely put off a lot of responsibilities today, like editing videos and filming videos and all that stuff. But yeah, I am going to go to bed, and I will see you guys in the morning. So it is actually a few days later, and I just edited the entire vlog, so now I'm just going to film this last clip wrapping up the 24-hour readathon. I had a really fun time. I read a lot. I did a lot of fun things throughout the day, and I always love vlogging and talking to you guys throughout the day. I'm definitely going to be doing more of these, and I just love doing reading vlogs. They're my favorite thing to film on my channel, so definitely look out for some that I'm going to be posting in the next couple of months. I made a whole schedule for the next half year, and I'm going to try to post videos every other week. I'm going to pre-film a bunch before I go back to school, and then when I do breaks, I'm going to pre-film a bunch, and I'll be back for the summer by, like, May 3rd, I think, so definitely look out for some more consistent content. But for now, I'm going to talk about all the books that I read, give my ratings, and how many pages they were, and we'll count up the total number of pages that I read in the 24-hour span. The first book that I finished during the readathon was Comfort and Joy by Kristin Hannah. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars, and it was 240 pages long. Next was Midwinter Murder, Fireside Tales from the Queen of Mystery by Agatha Christie, which I gave 3.25 out of 5 stars, and this was 299 pages. And last was Hiddensee, A Tale of the Once and Future Nutcracker by Gregory Maguire. I gave this book 3.75 out of 5 stars, and it was 283 pages. So somewhere on the screen is the number of pages I read. I'm really proud of myself. It's definitely over 800 pages, I think. And I haven't read that much in, like, this entire year. So to have read that much in a 24-hour span, even though it's only, like, 3 books, I know some people read, like, 6 books in these 24-hour readathons, but, I mean, I'm still really proud of this because I probably wouldn't have read any of these books that day, or I only would have gotten, like, a little bit into them. Like, I probably would have read 1, if any, books in this 24-hour span. So definitely proud of this, and I'm super excited to have read all of these and to have documented the experience, and definitely put me in a reading fever. But that is it for this reading vlog. I really hope you guys enjoyed. All of my social media links are in the description box below, and I will see you soon for a new video. Bye!